Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful day. Please let me know where you are watching this from. Let me know where you are joining from. I'm so excited about today's live show. As you guys know, I have two amazing immigration attorneys in the studio with me today to answer all your questions about employment based US visas. So, if you're interested in moving to the US, despite the US political climate, if you're interested in moving to the US right now and you're looking for work based visas that will allow you to work as soon as you get to the US, please join this. I really don't have questions for the immigration lawyers. You are the ones that will ask them questions. So if you know anybody that may be interested, call them to join. I'm literally giving like 30 seconds for more people to join, and then we'll get started. They're already with me in the studio, and I would have them join me. And they're already with me in the studio. I will have them start answering questions ASAP. But on Okonwoja, there are so many visas that a lot of people are not exploring. So many visas that allows you to come into the US and work. Some of them come with green card, which gives you the opportunity to work with any company that you want. And some of them, you can create your own opportunity here in America. You can create your own job. So let me know where you're joining from. And in the meantime, I'm going to bring my guests into the studio and I will have them introduce themselves while we're waiting for more people to join. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Miss Jiva and Miss Jiva Sugatan and Miss Busayo Fashidi into the studio. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Miss Jiva, tilt your camera a little bit so we see more of your face, less of the. Thank you so much. Thank you. Auntie Busayo, please do the same thing so we see more
Okay.
of you, less of the shelf. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna have both of you introduce yourselves. Not that they don't already know you, they remember you coming on this show and they love you already. So I just want you to introduce yourself again. Tell us your specialties so that they know that these are people who know what they are talking about. So I will remove myself and have the two of you introduce yourselves.
Thank you for having us. I'm Busayo Fashidi. I'm an immigration attorney. Been practicing for about 17 years now. I'm partnered with Jiva in our firm FS Law PC. My own focus is primarily on family-based immigration, but I do handle some employment-based. Most of my employment-based is on religious visas.
Hi everyone, Adiola, thank you for having us again. My name is Jeeva Sugatan. I am also working with Vasai FCD, and my practice area is employment based immigration, and that's it. Hi.
You guys were being modest, but thank you. Okay, so a lot of people don't know of so many of the work-based visas. And as a matter of fact, Miss Jiva, when you sent me the list, I was like, I've never heard about L visa and so on and so forth. So I like to divide them into two different categories. There are some that come with green card. There are some that don't come with green card, and you can also take them alphabetically. So, if you don't mind, I just would like for you to start telling us about some of these visas. In the meantime, though, if anybody has any questions, you can start putting it in the comment section. I will start putting up your question ASAP, although it may be a good idea to listen first to the different visa categories, and if you qualify, what you will do, what your next step would be. So, Antijiva, what are some of the employment based options that people outside the US can use to enter the US legally, or even people that are already in the US that don't have work authorization or their green card? What are some of the work based visas that they can explore?
Okay. First of all, I'd like to clarify that almost all visas will eventually lead to a green card, but there are some visas that are like outright green card, right? So it's two sections: non-immigrant visas, those are the temporary work visas, and then immigrant. Immigrant means green card. That's a path to a green card. And when you think about non-immigrant visas, we have like H1B, L1A, R1, E2. E2 is an investor visa. So let me start with H1B. H1B needs I'd like to clarify a lot about H1B because last H1B season we got a lot of calls asking to be put into the lottery. But H1B requires an employer, and only an employer can put your name in the lottery. You cannot file for H1B on your own unless you have your own company in the US. Then you can sponsor yourself for the H1B. So H1B is for it's a specialty occupation. You need to have a minimum bachelor's degree or experience in the field. Like you cannot just be an administrative assistant and get an H1B. Like it's usually for teachers, doctors, engineers, IT professionals, and people like that. So that's anyway, that doesn't mean that there is any restriction to a particular profession. As long as you have a bachelor's degree and you have not significant, you don't need to have experience. It's up to your employer. But you do need an employer or your own company to do H1B. So H1B can eventually lead to green card, like if your employer sponsor for you or you are eligible for other options. So that doesn't mean that you're coming here on a temporary visa and you won't get a green card. No, there are different options for you to reach the green card stage. But H1B is a good option to come and work for an employer, and the total you can do it for 6 years. First initial period of approval they give is for 3 years, then you can renew it for the next 3 years, and a total of 6 years. So that's one visa, but please be aware that unless you have your own company here, you cannot sponsor yourself for H1B. We have heard about a lot of, this is one of the reasons we agreed to do this webinar today, because we want to educate or make people aware of what's happening out there, because many people approach unsuspecting people and say that okay, we can get you a visa. Nobody, if anybody guarantees you a visa, that's a scam, because you cannot guarantee, because USCIS decides whether, of course, we if you are eligible you apply for it, but there's no guarantee until you get your approval from USCIS. So the first step you have to check is if somebody approaches you and say, of course, oh, you qualify, we're going to get your visa, we're going to get you a job. No, that's a scam, because H1B is a visa that's used by employers to fill in positions they cannot find in US. And if somebody is asking you, like, I have seen us like agencies. I think one or two people came to us, especially one lady last year. She paid an agency, I don't know, around $8,000 or something. They gave her a fake job. They filed for a H1B and it was denied. So she came to us asking, "Oh, can you just do something, appeal this?" So I said, "You cannot do it, ma'am, because it's the employer who filed for the H1B. So if they have to appeal, the employer needs to appeal." But she doesn't know who her employer is. She paid someone money and they just did a fake H1B for her. And she lost her money and she didn't get approved. She got denied. And we can't do anything about it because it's the employer that needs to appeal, right? So these are the instances, like so many things we are seeing, like so many, like they say that, okay, please make the payment within a week or then your slot is going to go away, things like that. So people need to be aware of all these scams all over there. Be sure you're speaking to licensed attorneys or accredited representatives. You can check if somebody poses an attorney, US attorney, you can check the bar website and see whether they're really licensed in the state they're claiming to be licensed. So be careful. So that's one thing about age. I'm talking about this because we saw a lot of instances. Like I had like multiple calls from people saying that, oh, put us in the lottery. We cannot do that. Only your employer can do that. So
Thank you so much for clarifying that. I truly appreciate it. I wanted to, even though H1B is one type of visa, I wanted to talk about one that I think people can easily connect on and then come back to H1B. Is it possible if I'm already established in Nigeria, I'm working in Nigeria, is it possible for me to transfer to the US and
can
still
you?
working for the same company? Is there a visa like that? Nobody has asked, but I wanted to start with that. Sorry, not
Oh, are
start.
you talking about the L1 visa? If you have an established company in your home country,
Yes,
whether
if I'm
yes,
established in my country, like Nigeria, for example,
mhm.
is it possible for me to transfer to
Yeah,
the
it's called intercompany transfer visa or L1. So there's two categories for L1. L1A, that's for managers and executives, and L1B is for specialized knowledge. When you say specialized knowledge, if you want to transfer an engineer from your overseas company to your US company, that's L1B. But if you want to transfer your managing director or an operations manager, that's L1A. So there's a differentiation between that because L1A will eventually lead to a green card through EB1C. But for that matter, you don't need to have an L1 for that. That's a long discussion, but let me know about L1. So if you have an existing company in your home country and or anywhere in the world, even if you are in Nigeria but you have a company in Spain or anywhere outside the US and that company is doing well, or you have employees, you have all the tax returns, it's an operating business. Then you have the option of coming to US and starting a new company as a new office. Once you set up that company, you can transfer yourself or any employees you would need from your overseas company to this company. So that's how L1 visa works. So it's a very good option for people who want to expand. But let me give you a warning there. It's not just for the, don't do it just for the sake of visa. Do it only if you want to expand your business because in case of new offices, they give it only for a year. At the end of the year, you need to free file for an extension. So at that time, they will see what did you do, what you claim you were going to do. Like, is it an operating business or still a paper company? Then they won't give your extension. It's very difficult to get L1A extensions or B for that matter. So you have to, if you are really sure you want to grow your business in the US, then do it. But if you think I'm coming for the visa, please don't do it because if your business is not operating, that's not going to work.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand it well. If I
Mhm.
have a company in Nigeria, should I already have a company established in the US before I can apply for the L1 visa?
Yes.
Or can I now decide to create a new company? Can I now extend to the US or expand, sorry, to the US because I'm trying to get the L1 visa and I want my company to be operating in the US as well. Like I want to have a branch of my company in the US. Can I go through the route of the L visa?
Yes, you can do it both ways. For example, if you already have an established branch here and one overseas, then you can, there's no issue. If it's like 1 year or over, then you can start like transferring. That's not a problem. But if you don't have a company, that's called new office L1. You can come here, create a company, rent, lease minimum of 500 square feet. That's a requirement for office space before you file for your L1, and then you can start. What we usually do is you just register your company, lease office space, minimum 500 square feet. Then you file the application with a business plan, telling USCIS what you intend to do in the next 5 years starting from year one, year two. It's an elaborate business plan. So they will approve it based on the business plan, and there should be a qualifying relationship, right? So the overseas company and the new company should be either a branch, subsidiary, or affiliate. So it may not be, for example, you have um, automobile some company in Nigeria, you don't have to do the same business. You can come and start another business. Only issue we have to prove is both are related, like either it's a branch of the company or affiliate. I like to do mostly affiliates because we can show for affiliates we can show the honors of both companies are more or less the same with almost or similar percentage of ownership. So if you have your company in Nigeria with 100% or 50%, you can come here, start a new company or buy an existing company or become partner with another existing company with a US partner or any company for that matter. So it's possible to set up a new one if you don't want have one. If you have an established branch here and if it's over 1 year old, then that still qualifies for L1. But it
So
needs to be operating.
I think a number of people may be interested in exploring this opportunity. Let's put up your email and your office phone number for those who may be interested in this, so that they can contact you to further weigh in what their options are and to know how to go about it. So you already sent me your contact, so I'm going to put it on the screen. In the meantime, though, someone is asking this, you would, I like to assume they would need to have enough fundings to go this route. So, do you want to answer this question? How much is needed to register and operate a business in the
Okay.
US?
So register, I will talk about from Texas perspective, right? So for example, you need to register a company in Texas. I think the registration, Buzayo, isn't it 300 for the Texas Secretary of State?
Yes, it's about $300. They charge some processing fees, but it's
Yeah.
about
So let's say that's the filing fee for the government, $300.
to register the business.
Yeah, register the business. Then you have to find space. That should be minimum of 500 square feet. So I don't know like how much the rent is going to be. It could be anywhere from 1500 to 2500. We don't know. It depends on where you take your space and stuff. And operating the business, the idea is they'll give it for 1 year, and within 1 year you need to show the person, like you who you're, for example, you're transferring your managing director here, and the overseas company can support you during this 1 year. You don't have to show any income in the US initially. You can just show a projection through your business plan. So, and once you transfer, you need to get paid, and your overseas company can still support you. But at the end of 1 year, we need to show that your new business is going to support you, your salary, and whatever is needed to run the business, other employees as well, right? Depends on what business plan. So I think it depends on your business how much you would need, but I don't think you need to invest. Like there's no regulation that says just like an E2 visa that you need to invest the value of the business. No, you don't have to invest anything. Like it depends on your business.
Again, guys, we're talking about the L visa right now. There's L1, there's L2. If there's anybody that's interested in exploring this route, whereby you come to the US and establish an affiliate of your business in your home country, and you can use that to get years is a work authorization to work in America, and then you renew it. But
Let
you
me,
need
I'm sorry, Adiola. Let me clarify this. So total for L1 you can be 7 years. Initially you get it for one, and if you get it extended, they'll give you in 3 year increments. So three, so total of 7 years. And I would suggest before, if your company is really doing really good, before 2 years, you just file for EB1C. That is, once your company crosses the 1 year mark, you can file for a green card based on your company if your company is making enough, like if it's a good operating and profitable business.
So this is a good opportunity. If anybody is interested, I just put their phone number as well as their email address on the screen. Please and please contact them to follow up on this opportunity. Now you know about it, so you can contact them at your convenience, because they've given you free consultation right now. So now you can follow up. I'm rewriting the email because I noticed there's a space in between. Okay, so please take a screenshot of the email and the phone number because I'm about to take more questions. Auntie Busayo, I think this may be for you. Is not completely related, but this person keeps asking this question, so I will bring it up. Also, this woman is giving us clarification about doing business in Texas. She says it costs 300. It can be done online at the Texas Secretary of State. So thank you so much, ma'am,
I
for
like this. I think another misconception is that people think like the US, because a lot of us are from Nigeria. It's just one law generally, like that governs the entire
the
country.
entire
But
country.
here, such things like business registration has to do with each individual state. So for Texas, thank you for posting this. It's $300. If you're doing it online, they will charge like some processing fees because you're using your debit card. But if you go to New York, New York might be different. It might cost more or less than Texas. So you have to check with the Secretary of State of each of those states, whichever state that you are interested in.
Each state is different. Each state is autonomous in the US. So it depends on the state you want to go to. So thank you so much for noting that. Now, Miss Kesa she has written this question several times that her
Okay.
visitor's visa was revoked 8 years ago because her spouse overstayed in the US and she's been asked to reapply on new grounds for reinstallment. She runs a fashion business, and this is also for Miss Jiva as well. So not just Auntie
Yeah.
Busayo. She wants to know if she could now use, I'm guessing she wants to use an employment based route if possible. So what would you say to Miss Kesa?
Okay, so for the revocation of the visa, like I want to assume that she didn't, it wasn't her offense. It was probably based on her spouse's offense. And the reason why they will revoke her own visa because of her spouse, that's something that is outside of the Immigration and Nationality Act, because each person kind of has to prove their own eligibility for visas, not relying on somebody else's history, unless maybe there's like a, what do you call it, maybe like a crime, because I know on the adjustment forms you see something related to maybe your spouse has committed some type of crime. But in this situation, I don't know why they're taking that out on this person. I also want to believe that this person does not have any ground of inadmissibility themselves. That is just a case of discretion that is being, the officers are, they are the ones denying the application at their own discretion. So if there's nothing like inadmissibility or any issue, then some of these things that Jiva is going to be talking about will be applicable and will be helpful. So if you own a fashion business, you may choose to maybe invest here as well, create a company, and then you're able to bring yourself in on the L visa. I'll have Jiva speak more to that. But if there's no ground of inadmissibility, then the other visa options are open. However, you have to bear in mind all the time that a lot of these visas are discretionary in nature. So even if you have everything all together, if the officer is biased, they may still choose to deny the application.
Miss Jiva.
Yeah, if she does have a fashion business and it's been like, if she has all her tax returns and it's an operating business, she could come and start a business here. But as I said, even I'm also like curious to know why her visa was revoked because of her spouse's overstay. That doesn't usually happen. So we don't know whether she has any other inadmissibility. So I mean that's something we need to review. So we're not sure.
Okay. Just to put in context, the L1 visa, what's like the timeline if someone is trying to come through that route and they have everything they need realistically, like how long, what's the duration before they can come to the US or start
So
operating their
yeah.
business?
Yeah, for L1, like they have the premium processing option that's called expediting. So if you file an extra, I mean, pay an extra $2,805 to the government, they'll make a decision on your case in 15 days. Usually, yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So sometimes they approve it. Sometimes they give a request for more evidence before the 15 days is up because if they don't adjudicate in that 15 days, they have to return the fees. So there are chances that you get a request for more evidence, but usually when you file the response to that, again, you get it approved in 15 days. So that's there. You can opt not to use it by checking the processing times online, but I don't think they say 3 months, 2 months, but most of the time it's more than that. So I think it's worth paying the extra expedite fee.
Awesome. Okay. So I I'm real quick. I'm going to take a question. Someone is asking where your law office is located. So if you guys don't mind giving your address, but then I'm also going to play a video because when I came to your office in Houston, I got to see your office. I got to meet you guys. So I want people to know this is not a scam. This is for real. I didn't bring scammers on the show, but please tell the person your office. Hold on, let me put their, where is the law office located? So maybe this person has someone in Houston that can help them verify that you guys are legit. But I'm also going to show a video that I made when I came to your office.
Buzai, can you type in the on chat like
Okay.
what?
Yes, we're located in Houston, and we're on Bel Air and Highway 6 at 6911 Highway 6 South. The suite number is 210. And we're in Houston, Texas. That said, even though we're in Houston, we're practicing immigration law, which is federal law, so which means we can represent clients in all 50 states and beyond.
Awesome. And I'm trying to import the video that I made. I don't know why it's not letting me, but I will as we go on. So they are located in Houston. I've been to their office. It's legit. It's not a scam. So I'm going to continue taking other questions. Now I'm having some specific questions, but we've only talked about two visas, guys. Please, even though you have questions, also take notes. Ms. Jiva has talked briefly about the H-1B visa, especially making sure that you don't get scammed, making sure that you know how it works, that you need an employer before you apply for the H-1B visa. And then she has talked about the L-1 visa in the case where you can establish your own company in America and use that to eventually get your residency in America. However, someone has been asking a specific question about being a deputy VC at a school in Nigeria. uh, what route would be perfect for someone who's a deputy registrar in a federal university? So, sorry, deputy registrar in Nigeria and has worked in the same place for 17 years. They have a master's degree in HR. What would you advise this person? What route would you advise they go through?
They could look for the option of H1B. Like, there are two kinds of H1B. One is through the lottery, the others for non-profits and universities and schools. There is a cap exempt H1B. They don't need to go through the lottery, like they can file straight if you're a university, school, or a non-profit associated with an affiliated institution like research non-profits. Not all non-profits qualify. So if she can get a university or any school or anybody to sponsor her H1B, that's one route. But I don't know whether she would qualify for national interest waiver. I need to look at her CV to determine that. But she does have a master's degree. But I don't know. I cannot comment just seeing this question. So there is an option of H1B. There is an option of EB2 national interest waiver if they qualify. So since they have worked for 17 years, they have significant experience and a master's degree. But we need to review. Otherwise, I cannot say.
Can Jiva, can you talk about the national interest waiver here? Because I know that there's a lot of misconception around it. That okay, because I have a master's degree, I automatically qualify for
Yeah.
national interest waiver.
Okay, so that's the second category of employment-based green card options, right? Immigrant visas. It's the EB2 visa. So usually for employment-based, when an employer, you need an employer to file for you generally. So before filing for a foreign national, an employer needs to test the labor market to make sure no US citizens are available for the job. So that takes a long time and it's a big process. It takes around 2 years to get the certification that no US lawyers, I mean, sorry, US uh, candidates are available for the position. But there is an exception to the second category. So if you are coming to the United States to do something that's of national importance and substantial merit to the US, then you get an exception of the labor certification. You don't need an employer then. You can self petition. So, in order to qualify for that, the minimum qualification is to have a master's degree, which is equivalent to a US master's degree. So, or you should have bachelor's plus 5 years of progressive experience. So generally, what we see is most people come to us telling, "I have a master's degree, I qualify for this." Yes, you do qualify, like that's the minimum entry requirement, but that doesn't mean that you will get approved for your national interest waiver. There are a lot of factors that go into it. First of all, what are you coming to do? Like, are you coming to, like right now, I just filed a national interest waiver. The person is like a oil and gas, is in the oil and gas field, so he has got significant experience. So he's coming to do that in the United States, and we are going to show that it's in the national interest. Of course, oil and gas is in the national interest of US. But that being said, it's not your field they're looking at. We will think that, okay, oil and gas or healthcare, all these are national interests. But no, that's not the case. That's just merit, substantial merit. Where when we show that what you're coming to do is a national interest, we have to show whatever you're doing is benefiting nationally, not just your employer or just one small state or anything like that. So we can show that by showing that my job or my proposed endeavor, whatever I'm coming to do, will create jobs, will improve the economy. So, in short, it's a matter of advocacy, like how we write the petition letter and present the case. But however, if you are just a new graduate, just got your master's degree, you wouldn't qualify. You should have significant experience for that, at least 10 years of experience. The regulation doesn't say you need to have that, but that's the case when it comes for approvals. You can apply, nobody's stopping you from applying, but you won't get approved.
Thank you so much. I just want to stress one more time that the office phone number will only work during office hours, which will be Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, Texas time. So please keep that in mind. So real quick, I'm going to show your law office. And if you can please text me your address one more time so I can put it on the screen as well after I show the law office. So let me show the law office.
Hello,
Hello.
welcome in. Thank you for coming to the law office of Oluwaseun CDPC and FS Law. This is our lobby here where you
Awesome.
come in reception and stay for a while.
Okay.
Here's where I would be checking you in.
Okay.
You would meet with our attorneys in one of our conference rooms in the back.
Awesome.
The service is great here. Both of our attorneys are well experienced, so feel free to come by for all your immigration needs, both family and employment. We take care of everything.
And where are you located? What's the address of this place?
We are at 6911 Highway 6 South, Houston, Texas 77083.
How easy is it to get here? How accessible are you guys?
We're very accessible. We're actually on the main Highway 6 with the crossroad of Bel Air. We're on the second floor of the plaza. Once you come into the plaza, you'll see our law firm with the big sign at the top that says law firm.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming
All
by.
right. Bye. Okay, so now you know that's their office. And did you text me your address so I can put it on the screen so that people know this is legit? If you have anybody in Houston that you want them to go to their law office to check them out, feel free to do that. I'm pretty sure they would not mind. So I do have some specific questions that I'm putting on the screen real quick. This is their address on the screen. Please and please make sure that you save it so that if you want to send someone there, you can do that. So I someone is asking, my son works at Delta Airline in Lagos and they want employment with the same airline in the US. Is that possible?
Only if Delta Airlines transfer him.
Only if Delta Airline would sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, they can do L1 for him. They can transfer him from Lagos to US, but they need to do that.
Okay, so they need to talk to Delta Airline to see
The
if they'll
employer.
be
Yeah.
willing, to see if they'll be willing to sponsor them. Someone was asking if there's an age limit for
No,
professional engineer H1B.
no.
There's no age limits. Okay, and this person is asking about EB2 with STEM and IW.
Yeah, as like I cannot, like if like EB2 STEM, yeah, it's possible, but still we need to evaluate and see whether the person qualifies. So
So please contact them. This is their email address. Send them an email as you're watching this show. I know it's Saturday. They won't get to it until Monday, but I'm imagining they will start with first come, first serve. Send them an email. Tell them your situation. Don't forget you need to pay for what's it called? Because this one is free Now the word escaped me. Consultation. After this show, there's no free consultation. So keep that in mind when you write them. Don't be surprised that they are charging their attorneys, immigration lawyers, they charge you for consultation. That's why we are offering this free one so that you get the info. And then if you need more or you want to process anything through them, please and please make sure that you have your money at hand. Though. At least contact them first. I don't believe that they charge too much for consultation. So contact them and then you will know what your options are. So I saw this and I thought I should read it. Madam Adela, please sponsor me, I beg. And this is one of the reasons why we are doing this show. So you don't, this is why we're doing this show so that you can be educated and know the options. If you're actually serious about moving to the US, you don't really need anybody to sponsor you. We're talking about employment based visas and they've started going over the list. There will be other lists to go through. You can sponsor yourself with some of these visas. So hopefully you stay around and hear more. And this person is asking if they can process CB1 visa from Nigeria for a family of five.
Yes, if they qualify. And
If,
it is, it is for like one person, like if if the spouse, either one of them qualifies, then the family is included for, and kids below 21. Spouse and kids below 21 are included.
I really like this question. What's the immigration opportunity for a truck driver with a certificate in computer science?
Actually, there is, but there is the option. There's a shortage for truck drivers in the US, and I have heard about H-2B visas for truck drivers, but there is a list. I'm not sure whether Nigeria is in the list of countries. No,
No.
right? Yeah. So,
So
uh,
there are countries that they will allow drivers to come from.
not drivers alone, like seasonal workers, like restaurant workers, farm workers. So there's two visas, H2A, that's for agricultural workers, and H2B is for nannies, all those people. But it's just seasonal. Like there are different. It's a whole lot of different, and there's a quota also, and it gets filled up pretty quick. And there are only some countries that qualify. Like surprisingly, Canada qualifies. So, similar.
I was really excited about the nanny visa until I found out Nigeria is not Nigerians are not allowed to come
Yeah.
through the route. Because I have a number of people that want to nanny my babies. That was so disappointing. Like, why is Nigeria not on that list? It's very annoying.
The thing
Yeah.
is, you're a green, you're a citizen because you know you can, like if it's a
Yeah. If you're on a
non-immigrant
visa, you
visa,
could.
yeah, you can actually bring in a nanny on a B1, but
It's
Oh,
not,
really? Talk
yeah.
to me. Tell me about
not
this.
for you. If you were on a non-immigrant visa like H-1B or L-1, you can bring in your nanny on a B-1 visa. Yeah, but not for green card holders or citizens. They won't allow that. Only for if you're coming temporarily here, you can bring your nanny.
What? Okay, so if you're an American citizen, you cannot bring a nanny from Nigeria.
Mm-mm.
But if you are on work visa,
Mm.
then you can bring your nanny with you to America.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's say you're working for Shell now, or that or Delta Airlines transfers that person to the United States on an H1B, they can actually or an L visa, they can actually come along with their nanny. And the nanny will be on B1.
Look at that. Okay, please, guys, keep that in mind if you are intending on coming with your
But
nanny.
you can always sponsor your nanny on EB3, but it's a long process and it takes a long time.
So even if you're a citizen, you can still
Yes.
sponsor
Mhm.
your nanny on EB3.
Yeah, that's employment based third category for unskilled and skilled workers. You can sponsor your nanny, but I think right now is 2023, right? The
Yes.
retrogression for
Oh, this is 2025. They are still on 2023 applicants.
Mhm. For rest of the world. Yeah, for I think for India it's 2013 or something, but rest of the world, yeah, Nigeria it's 2020.
2013.
Yes.
Oh, so this it will take at least 2 years to get your nanny to come. By that time, the baby is grown now, doesn't need
Exactly.
nanny anymore. The Indian one that is at 2013, by the time the nanny gets here, the baby will be the one to pick them up at the airport now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So not fair. This is a physics teacher with 15 years of experience from Nigeria, KTUS certified. Aside from getting COS, I don't know what that is. What other ways can I get teaching offer?
What is COS? I don't know either.
Uh,
Can you
Uncle
clarify for us?
Uncle Fanny Phil, you need to retype your question. We do not know what COS is. I've also noticed that there was someone who was asking what other ways can I get to the UK, something like that. I'm trying to get their question, and I just wanted to say to the person, this is US based. UK is it's another country. So today we're just talking about the US. If I see their question, I'll bring it up, but I saw it earlier. All right, so Uncle, you need to retype your question because we don't know what COS is. Okay, he's
But
yet
based
to.
on the information, like he could
Somebody said certificate of sponsorship. Are you sure? Let that person come and
what is
retype their question.
what is certificate of sponsorship?
Oh, so this is a UK thing, certificate of
Yeah.
sponsorship in the
Yeah,
UK.
but US too. I know that some there's school districts that are looking for teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have to. There's a way they you can have it certified, like your transcript. I don't know that. I can't answer how to get a teacher certified here, but there is a way to have it certified, and then you can get a job with a school district. They are CAP exempt as well, which means that whenever they file the H-1B for you, you're able to get the visa. You don't have to go through any lottery process. And they would also file, like some of the school districts that I know of, like around here in Texas, if you work for them for about 3 years, they will file a green card for you. So you can. I think the teaching thing is a good thing to explore,
Mm-hmm.
actually.
I
It
was
is.
just about to say, why don't we talk about the visa for those who want to teach in the US? Do you mind talking about that now?
Yeah, that would be the H1B.
The
And,
H-1B,
and
okay, but there's a special one for those that want to teach.
no, no, no. Teachers H1 teachers are called like usually they work on H1B, but it's easier for because public schools are cap exempt. That means they don't need to go through the lottery, right? H1B visas are only 85,000 a year. So the lottery is the eligibility to apply for the visa, not for the visa. So you get selected in the lottery, then you're eligible to apply. That doesn't mean you get approved. You will get approved only if everything is correct, right? Or you're qualified for it. So this 85,000 cap does not apply to public schools, research nonprofits, and colleges. So publics, there's a shortage of teachers in the US. So if you have like a US teacher certification, we don't know how to do the certification, but maybe you can search it up. So, and if once you have the teacher certification, you can apply to public schools. And if public school hire you, they will do your H1B. They don't have any quota. Like you can do it any time of the year. You don't have to wait until March to go through the lottery. So
Okay,
it's again like
so I gain more information from it. So if you're already a registered teacher in your home country, you already qualify. And they said, because the person that sent me does this, she said that the area of need is math, science, and SPED. SPED is special education.
hmm,
Yeah. So you can apply to like the school district. We can get the information to Miss Adiola so that way she can let you guys know if you're interested. So that way she can, like when we have more credible information about okay, go about it this way, then she can post it.
And they can just contact you guys directly
And
as
that's
well.
fine. They can contact us as well, and then we refer them to the appropriate place. Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, thank you, Joshua Emil Welly. He just donated $400 to me for doing this live show. I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. Also, this question is from Uzoma Ugochukwu. Which visa for someone who studied computer applications?
is it a bachelor's degree?
Uzoma, put it in the comment section. Are you talking about bachelor's degree or do they have a master's? Uzoma, the question is it, do you have a master's or bachelor's? He wrote yes, or maybe it's a
So
he, I
it
don't know.
should be
So
bachelor's.
maybe yes to bachelor's degree is what they are saying.
Yeah, H1B is the option, but he needs to find an employer to file for his visa. He should find a job. That's the reason. Like, somebody who's willing to offer him a job.
Sometimes I tell people, I'm sure there are better ways, but sometimes if you go on indeed.com to look for jobs in the US, you can also streamline it to sponsored uh, jobs. You can search for jobs that will sponsor your visa on indeed.com. So if you're really good and they really want you, they will take you. So, anyways, and then this person is asking about EB2. Oh, we answered this already. I'm sorry. So this
Yeah.
person said that they're medical laboratory scientists. They've passed their ASCP license to practice in the US. How do I move on?
In the same way, they need to file an employer to sponsor the H1B visa.
Okay, so you do
The
need to.
medical laboratory scientist, what does that mean? Like, scientist? Are they into research, or we need more
So you
information?
need to be more specific about, you said you're a scientist. So if you can put in more information in the comment
Yeah, then
section.
maybe they should, pursue the national interest waiver option if they have, like, research experience. I don't know.
How about healthcare assistant with diploma in healthcare and social care with UK experience of 3 years, bachelor's degree from Nigerian University, switching to tech, agile project management?
See, all these people can opt for H1B, but it's not easy because the lottery opens only once a year in March. Now it's closed; it's not available anymore this year.
Okay.
But if we look at their resumes, maybe we can find some options for them.
Can you put it up again? Like
Yeah.
the
And this is the ending of their question. They are saying that their son is a US citizen under the
Yeah,
age
can
of.
you put the main section up? Okay, so it says that you're switching to tech, agile project management. You may want to explore F1 options. So, to come in, and if you're switching, maybe you may want to take a course here in F1 status, and then you can assimilate into the system that way. Maybe that might be a better option for you. Then the person also mentioned that they have a child who is under the age of 18 years. So for your child to even file for you, your child has to be 21 years before they're able to file for you. But there's some, if you let's say you enter the US on a B1, B2, and your child is going to be schooling here as a US citizen, they're going to school here, or even if your child comes in as an F1, but they are minor, you can actually keep extending your B1, B2 on that basis because your child is schooling here. So they allow you to extend and stay in the United States to take care of your child because your child is a minor for that reason. But for this person, like since what you had in the past is healthcare experience, however, now you're switching career, I would try and find maybe like a college or to further my education here. So that way you have some US education, and from there, if it was an academic program, you'll be entitled eligible for the OPT, 1 year OPT, and maybe you'll find an employer that will file for you from there.
Okay, after this question, please let's talk about what's it called, talent-based visas, individuals with extraordinary ability, as well as the religious workers. I know Nigerians are very religious, so they may find good information. But this person is asking about if someone with criminal conviction on child discipline from Ireland can be admitted to the US.
So it depends on what the person is coming in for. When you talk about admission, is the person coming in on a B1, B2? So you can come in on a B1. You should be able to get us what's it called, like a
Visiting.
tourist visa, visiting visa, on for you to enter and visit the US temporarily. That's fine.
But what if
But
they want to come here to work or.
there's some criminal grounds of inadmissibility that will need to, if it's going to be like for a green card, that needs to be examined. So one will have to look at the nature of the crime and how it translates here. So
And I guess this question is also another reminder that if you do move to other countries, developing countries, what we call discipline in Nigeria may not be called discipline outside of Nigeria, and it could actually create a lot of problems for some parents. So please keep that in mind. There are other ways of disciplining your children, especially once you're outside of Nigeria. So, real quick, can you please talk about the individuals with extraordinary ability and religious workers? We've only discussed two visas, and there's a long list too.
So let's finish off the non-immigrant, that is temporary visas first. So I
Okay.
will give it to Buzaya to talk about religious visas because she's our expert in that.
Oh, okay.
So for the religious visas, we have the R1, then we also have the EB4, which is for special religious workers, immigrant religious workers. So for that, generally, you need a church or an or religious organization that has 501c3 status, which is tax exempt status in the United States. You don't you can either be self sponsored. I mean, not when I mean self sponsored, I mean financially, because you're coming in as a missionary, but you have to show that you do have sufficient funds to sustain yourself, or the organization will be the one paying or financing your stay here in the United States. For them, there's no salary requirement, as in other employment based immigration categories, but at least they should be giving you a living wage, like something that you can sustain yourself and your family on. You have to show that you've been a member of that organization for at least 2 years. So what typically obtains is that is really common in with the redeemed. You know, redeemed is very easy to establish that it's the same organization because it's a worldwide religious organization. So you have to show that you've been a member, or it could, even if it's not the actual, or if there's an affiliation between those organizations, you know, one can use that as well to prove that. So for the EB4, which is the religious based immigrant visa, you must show that you've actually been working in that particular position for 2 years. So you have to show that you've been receiving income. So let's assume you're a pastor in Nigeria, and then you're in the Redeemed Church, you're a pastor in Nigeria, and your church and another church here is sponsoring your EB4. You must show that you were actually being paid. So you can't just be a pastor in that volunteering position as a pastor, but you must be receiving income for you to qualify. So what most people do is they start out on the R visa, which is a temporary visa, and then because the R visa is valid for 5 years, you can the initial validity is two and a half years. After the 2.5 years, then you're able to extend for another 2.5 years. So that 2.5 years will give you the opportunity to gain the required work experience that you need to now file the EB4, which is a religious based immigrant. It's kind of a bit different from other when it comes to the religious base in processing for the immigrant visa, because for the EB4 you need to have an approval first of all before you're able to adjust status. So you first get your approval, then you now see if your priority date is current, which means that the USCIS is accepting applications that were filed during that time for processing and they have a visa available to you, then that is when you're able to adjust status. So what I see, and the reason I bring this up is that a lot of people that I've seen, or not a lot, like some people that I've seen, they'll start out on the R1 visa. Then their employer will file the EB4 for them, which is the immigrant visa, and they will not maintain their status because they filed the immigrant visa for them. They go ahead and file adjustments. They don't wait for an approval. Some will have an approval, but the government does not have visas ready for them. Then they now miss, they fall out of status. And once they fall out of status, they are no longer able to adjust within the United States. And they just, you have an approved petition and there's nowhere to get a green card without you exiting the country. So you have to be very, very careful. So what we usually advise our clients to do when they are getting towards the 5-year mark is that find another visa to apply for. So it's either you change your status to maybe F1 or something, just to maintain that status, because it does take a while for them to issue visas in the EB4 category.
Okay, so if I'm a redeemed pastor, for example, and I live in Nigeria and I'm trying to move to the US with my family, do I need Is this something that I can contact an immigration lawyer directly to help me with, or do I need to go and get permission from the Redeemed Church Authority that I want you to sponsor me to now work for Redeemed Church in America, or where do I start from?
Okay, so for here, the Redeemed churches here operate on a different type of level. So it's kind of,
Than
you
the
need
Redeemed in
than the
Nigeria?
yes. So you need a sponsoring organization. So you need a Redeemed church in the United States, another Redeemed church in the United States that is willing to sponsor the visa. It's easy to show the affiliation because it's the same denomination. So that is very easy to show that, okay, it's the same denomination as Redeemed. However, Redeemed is not national. We have a national body here. However, the churches operate, for immigration purposes, it's going to be individual churches that would apply for a particular person. So you need to contact a Redeemed church here, and if they have a need for a pastor, they will be the one to request for the R visa on that individual's behalf.
Okay. So, what if I'm a Muslim? Can I do this via a mosque in
Yes, you can.
America? Let's say
Any
I'm
religious organization. Yes.
Do
Any
I have to
religious
be a
organization.
Muslim cleric before I can do this through
You
mosque
it,
here?
it depends on what they're going to be hiring you as. So if you're coming here to work as a cleric, they want to show that you have the qualifications for you to serve in that particular role. So if that organization, all they require for you to serve as a cleric is for you to have been a Muslim all your life, then that is fine. You understand. But however, if they have a requirement that you must have gone through a particular set of training, because you must be able to function in that role. So you need to show that you have the requirements for you to function in that particular role. And that is organization based. So it differs from each religious organization to from each one to another. So it doesn't have to be, it's not only for Christians, it's for any particular religious organization. So you
What
don't
if I'm not a minister, but I am religious? Can I take advantage of this? Is there a special immigrant visa for religious non-ministers? Let's say I'm a chorister, I sing, or I can pray the heaven and earth
they,
down.
they have um for non ministerial roles as well, especially
For
with visa.
religious workers, right?
Yeah, religious
But
workers.
I believe it's stopped for the time being.
Yeah, there's this. They usually roll. I'm not sure if they extended the sunset date because they usually will say whether it's extended or not. So I don't know if that was extended. I
I
think
don't
Jiva
think
said it
so.
wasn't.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was not. Yeah. I mean, I'm not
In
sure.
practice, honestly, I found that it's better to have the ministerial roles are more they're approved better than the other ones because they will claim that there's no real need for that individual. That's what I've seen in practice because we had a particular one that was actually it was approved here, but at the embassy the officer did not grant the visa because it's like he doesn't understand the reason why we would require that individual to come and function in the church.
Maybe what if I'm like a keyboardist? I want to go and play keyboard for a church.
That will come under
Mhm.
church. What do you call it? Like music ministry, like.
Like a music minister. Yeah.
Mhm.
So thank you so much, Chris Fagbolu, for donating $10. I truly appreciate it. He's asking, an 18-year-old came to US on visiting visa at 15. She graduated high school this year, but is now out of status. She all A student. What option of college will she have given her out of status?
Okay. So from this, she didn't change to F1. So she was just attending school. It's kind of, it depends on the state. So some states would allow you to go to college, even if you don't have like a valid visa or
States
something,
like
status. I know I'm not sure about the recent developments in Texas because I think I saw something. Maybe
Yeah.
that had to do with tuition. but
Yes.
Texas did or does allow people to go to some colleges would accept you. So you
Texas
can go to,
allows you,
yeah.
but no, like they took away the in-state tuition.
The
So
in-state tuition. Okay, so
yeah,
Texas wouldn't be able
last
to.
week they did it away. Like that was very
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. So in
So
the past,
Texas
a
will
lot of
allow you, but you will pay the out of state tuition, which is more expensive.
which is
Yeah.
more expensive. So for her, like because right now she's going to be stuck in the system, so to speak, if she's out of status, unless there's a way out, maybe a parent is here that can file for her before she turns 21 or something. So you don't begin for children, they don't start to accrue unlawful presence until they turn 18. So I think this is something that the family needs to sit down and strategically view. She would not she would not start.
So now
So
she's 18.
she's 18. So we don't know when she turned 18. So she started accruing unlawful presence when she turned 18. You understand? So let's assume she hasn't accrued up to 180 days of unlawful presence. She can still leave the US without consequences if she wants to go to maybe like attend school in a different country. You understand? But if
Can
she
you still
stays
go
here,
outside the US and now apply for student
she
visa?
can do so, yes. She can go outside the US and now apply for student visa. However, we should bear in mind that the current administration have stopped the issuance of student visas. So, but she can go to another country and then she can re-enter the United States at a later time without consequence. However, if she stays beyond that 180 days and exits the country, she can return for another 3 years. If she stays up to 1 year, then she has a 10-year bar. So you have to look at it carefully. So it's either she stays here, continues to attend school, kind of gets, caught in the system. Eventually, she can get her green card probably through marriage or maybe somebody files for her, you know, a family member or something happens. Or you can make a strategic decision to allow her to seek opportunities maybe in other countries for her academic education.
But if she stays and she's going to school and she has started accruing unlawful presence,
Mm.
could she possibly face deportation?
She may face deportation.
Mhm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if she's deported, she may not come back for another 3 years, you said?
No, not another three. That is separate from the consequence of deportation. So if a person has a deportation order, they may not be able to enter again for another 5 years. So that's separate. Unlawful presence is something entirely separate. So for now, you know how the Trump administration or the current administration is offering people $1,000, right, and a plane ticket to leave the country. So a lot of people, if you take that option, you've been out of status for up to 180 days, up to 1 year, you're still going to be subject to those 3 and 10 year bar. So if you let's say now I've been out of status for more than 1 year, I take the option of $1,000 and a visa and a travel ticket. I may not be able to enter the US for another 10 years. You understand? So there's still consequences for being out of status. So the good thing about this person is she's just 18. I don't know how long she's been 18 for, so it has to be something, but it's very difficult, even as I'm speaking now, to tell the parents that it's best for you to seek other alternative for your child so your child is not lost in this system. And as you said, stands the fear of being deported at any time, because in this current climate, even the teacher can choose to, or somebody administration or someone can choose to report the child that this person doesn't have a legal status.
Yeah. And the scary thing is detention now rather than deportation. I feel that's more scary, right?
Yeah.
Be detained. So
So people spend some time in detention before they even deport them.
Mhm.
that's what's happening right now.
That's what's happening now.
So, I would advise this person to email your office or book a consultation session. I think the problem sometimes is lack of information. Because if this person had consulted with an immigration lawyer before this child turned 15, or maybe as soon as the child came to the US, there are legal ways that the child could have stayed, like maybe adjust their status. Could that have been done?
Maybe more of change of status because we don't know if there's any means of
Yeah, the
adjusting
child could have filed for F1
for
here.
F1.
So
Then it depends
high,
on,
you can do F1 for high
yeah.
school too.
So they could have the child could have adjusted her status from visiting visa to F1 visa as an international student.
Change that.
Then there's also like options for, let's assume a child is abandoned or neglected by a parent, at least one of the parents. There's an option for a special immigrant juvenile, that leads to the green card. So a child can do that if a child has been abandoned. But a lot of times it requires for the family court or for a court that handles such matters to declare that this child is under their care. So, and that usually has to be done before the child turns 18 in some states. Some states, their own age of for a child to be presumed to be an adult is goes beyond the 18. So they can still get that done in other states. But for Texas, I know it's by the time the child turns 18. So there are still avenues available. So if you let's assume the child is abandoned, by at least one of the parents, and there's no hope of reconciliation with that parent, then there's a possibility of filing for the SIT.
Thank you so much for addressing that. Once again, I will advise please contact them, know what your options are. And if anybody is here on a visiting visa, the time to contact immigration lawyers is now. You don't wait until you are out of status, then things become more complicated. So lawyers will not sell you out. They would advise you on routes on how you can get your residency and so on. So please and please sit down with an attorney. If you don't want to sit down with them, at least now you know, find an attorney to sit down with. I just want to say real quick that and I've seen this a number of people thanking you guys for the information that you are passing. I know that we have taken more than 1 hour of your time. I'm truly sorry, but I just want both of you to know that the information you are passing across today is life changing for a lot of people. So thank you so much for what you're doing. So I want to say real quick that for people who are influencers or who are popular or who have a lot of followers, or some people are Nollywood actors, actresses, isn't there a visa route that they can use to move to the US if they want to move to the US?
Yes, that's the EB1A, but that's the most restrictive visa category, like the top one. So that doesn't mean that people call it like Einstein visa sometimes. So there's a misconception that you have to be a researcher or you have to be very, on the top of your field. Yes, you do, but there are like 10 criteria for it, and it's like a two-part evaluation. Out of the 10 criteria, you should qualify for a minimum of three, and once you qualify for three, they go on to the next evaluation to see whether you have sustained national or international acclaim in your field. So examples are like, if you are a researcher, you have patents, you like, and you're contributing towards the research pool. That's one way. Doctors do that, STEM degree holders, but there are specific criteria for that. Like the regulations give us 10 criterias, so we cannot comment who would qualify just by, we need to evaluate their profile. So this would apply even to artists, film stars, depending on whether they received any awards, they have judged the work of others, they have publicly published material about them or publications. So it is the EB1A is a very restrictive visa, but it's not that difficult as you think. If you fit the profile, yes, it's approvable. It can be done in business, like we have done EB1 for artists, business persons, doctors, um, similar different fields. It's not just for researchers. That's what's a common misconception, saying if unless you're a researcher you won't get that. No, it's available to artists.
And Jiva, when you say artist, what do you mean? Like
uh,
just
Famous artist. Like you
Okay,
have
what
to.
do you mean by artist? Like, it doesn't have like you can be like a disc jockey, like a DJ, like
Yeah,
an influencer, like
can be an influencer DJ, but any DJ
an
won't qualify.
actor. Yes. So
Yeah, an actor who has like who's everybody knows about the person.
so like
It's
an Hollywood.
yeah, Nollywood actors can do it. Influencers, yes. Then what? Like musicians. I can't think about anything else now. Yeah, so not necessarily hi-fi researchers. Everybody can do it. If you are at the top of your field, regardless, if you're in business and you're there, everybody knows about you and you qualify the criteria. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So you were saying that if people have at least three of these 10 criterias,
Mm-hmm.
they may be able to file the EP one.
Yes, that being said, as a matter of policy, I don't encourage people who barely make three. That doesn't mean that you cannot file, but if you just make three,
The more, the better. The
yeah,
more.
so, yeah,
If
the
you can
more the
have on 10, it increases your chances.
yeah no, the reason I say that is because the regulation says 3 out of 10. But now, after a lawsuit, I mean, case law, that's Casarian, after the case law came in, they do a two-part analysis. So if you have more than five, or if you even don't have more than five, and if you just put in there, like whatever you feel you think would apply to each criteria, that makes sense because when they take the totality of the evidence, right, they would consider that even if you may not qualify for a criteria to get your final determination. So I would encourage clients, if they just barely make three, I would say please work on your profile more. I don't know. I like to have a minimum of five for my clients. But that doesn't mean that you cannot file if you qualify only for three. The but it's better to have more than three.
Now, the beauty of this is if you're approved, does it come with green card?
It is a green card. Yeah.
Which means you can work anywhere pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And but then you're telling the US you're coming to do something in your field. So ideally you should work in your field, you know, that's there. But you don't have an employer, you're not restricted in doing anything. You just have your permanent residence for 10 years.
So if you've gotten, you don't even have to be like famous, 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 but if you've gotten some nationally
So
recognized
let's look at this. So the first criteria is national or internationally recognized prizes. So if the government of Nigeria give you an award, something in your field, right?
does it
Uh,
have to be the government though?
no, not necessarily. I'm just giving you an example, but it should be nationally recognized. Like newspapers report your award, and there is a
What
maybe
about
like your
the
organization, like if you're maybe
yeah,
part
yeah,
of the
what
and the
about like
criteria for the award, right? So this
yeah.
award, I got this award today. So I say I got this award. The criteria was excellence in this, and there are other people who have received this award before me, and they also received. And these are stringent criteria. It's not available to anyone. It's because of my excellence in my field. That's why I got this award. So it could be anything. So it not need not be like very prestigious. But if you have a government award, that's great. That's because it's the government's issuing the award, right? So that's one thing. And next thing is membership in associations. People get misled by this. Any association won't work. It should be like associations that invite you because of your excellence, like application based associations. Is if you can become a member by paying a membership fee, that won't work. But if it's an association in your field and you're a board member, that could work. You're a chairman, trustee, board member, then that's fine. So that's there. Then publish material about you. That's easy. Like not necessarily easy, but if the major media in your country, like for example in Nigeria, like Vanguard, Guardian, these newspapers publish something about you or your work, yes, you qualify. So and next is what? Judging. So judging the work of others. This could be you're going for a contest and judging, or you're peer reviewing other people's journals, or you're in an interview board evaluating people's skills and making a decision, all those things apply for that. Then original contribution of major significance to the field. So if you have some original contribution to your field, so it depends on your field actually. So once we get the CV of the person, we decide whether they just what happened, like what did they contribute originally. And if you are a director, you can say, okay, I have this movie, it was my original contribution, I wrote the script, or a script writer, you understood. So and this was a major significance in my field. And similar to that, like it depends on the each what do you call, industry. And next is evidence of authorship. If you wrote any articles, scholarly articles in professional or major trade publications, this usually applies to researchers because they write a lot of research papers and publish. And not necessarily, if for example Adiola can write something about what you do, and if it's published in a major media, it qualifies. And next is work has been displayed at artistic exhibitions or showcases. This is specific to artists, but if you have comparable evidence in your field, like your work was established or showcased in a conference, it could be a scientific conference, that also work. And next is performance of leading a critical role. So you are the CEO, or not necessarily CEO, but your role in a distinguished organization. Any organization won't work. We need to first prove that the organization you're working for is distinguished. So, and we can say because of your role, you were a leader, or your role is critical to that organization. And next one is commanding high salary. That's pretty much, for example, if you're a CEO of a company and you make 100,000, we need to prove that a CEO of the same field makes less than you. So that's usually done through stats. Like we go to salary.com and other websites and find the statistics of, if you if you go to salary.com and put CEO in what real estate, they'll give you an amount, like what they would make, right? If it's less than what you make, you can say, okay, I have a high salary compared to others. So that's there. Then next is commercial success in performing arts. This is just for performing artists, so it's not available for others. But if you are a actor or a director, you can show box office receipts and say I have commercial success. So it's all a matter of evidence. Even if you say, oh, I qualify for 5 or 6, but you need to prove it. We cannot just state it. We need evidence.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Once again, I just want you to know that there are not a lot of comments, people thanking you for this evening. This person say it's life changing to many who have no means of getting an attorney. And while we're talking about getting an attorney, I thought I would read this comment. Can the lawyers give more clarity on lawyer-client relationship, not to divulge information vis-a-vis U.S. laws, etc., because some people are afraid to come up to lawyers for help on time. The reason I'm reading this is a lot of people actually genuinely don't go to lawyers, or they wait until it's becoming too late. So they don't understand that the lawyer wants to work for you. As far as my own understanding, lawyer wants your money. Lawyer is not going to call immigration. I mean, call ICE on you. Do you want to talk about that?
It's not money as such. We have a duty to a
No,
client.
no, I'm not saying
No,
you.
no,
I'm
no.
just
What I'm
saying
trying to
in
say is,
general.
no, no, we are talking about the bar rules, right? We are licensed attorneys. We cannot divulge client information to anyone. It's privileged information. Buzaya, can you explain more, please?
Yeah, like any when you consult with an attorney, there's an expectation of confidentiality. So if you meet with an attorney, your attorney should not divulge without your consent. So usually, because you have some people that come in with their family members to consultations, so you have to have permission from the person that, okay, can I speak in front of your family member? Otherwise, the person would have to excuse you. And another thing is, even if your parents or your brother or sibling is the one financing your relationship with the attorney, that still doesn't mean give the attorney the right to provide that person with information about you unless they have a waiver from you of that privilege. And the privilege protects you in the sense that if for any reason your case ends up in court, the privilege protects the relationship between you and your attorney. Your attorney cannot come to court and disclose whatever it is that is said. And that said, I do understand that there are a lot of attorneys that have not lived up to the expectations or met their obligations under the law. So there's a way, usually when you meet with an attorney or they give you an agreement, make sure you read the agreement. You have a right to report your attorney. You know, I'm an attorney, I know that, but the reality is that that's the difference between us and people who are not licensed. We have a license to protect. If you report us, the bar is going to investigate the matter. And these are things that, especially when it comes to the breach of confidentiality, because that's the hallmark of our profession. If you cannot trust your lawyer, then, it's like you're going to your doctor and your doctor is talking about your ailment to everybody. Then who can you trust? So they hold it very, very, it's one of those things that can make an attorney lose their license as fast as possible. So if you're in a situation where you believe maybe your attorney did not meet their board requirements or something, you have a right. You can report the attorney to the state bar that the attorney is that is the attorney that issued the license that your attorney is practicing with. And another thing that I've come to realize is that we believe attorneys are expensive. But those notarios or people who are not licensed actually charge more than attorneys. Like we joke about it all the time. When you hear what people have paid unlicensed individuals, you're like, wow. There's just that misconceptions about attorneys. But no, as a client, you have rights. You have rights. And if your attorney breaches any of your rights, there's legal recourse. You can always report the attorney.
But let me put in only if you deal with an attorney. If you deal with a notary or an agent or an agency, they don't have anything to lose.
They
You know,
don't.
they're not like they're not liable
It's
for
not
it.
regulated. So that's it. The only thing
And
you can do is seek
it's
recourse
not
in civil.
regulated, but attorneys are. So it's best to go directly to attorney. Someone was asking in the comment section, how much is your consultation fee? I don't know if you want to answer or not.
I think that's what, if you call our office, we'll let you know
Yeah,
what my
call the
consultation
office. So before we
is.
leave the EB1 visa that comes with green card, what if someone has a PhD? Is there any visa that they can apply for just on the basis of I have a PhD?
Not necessarily like PhD, but they could qualify for EB2 national interest waiver depending on which field they are in. Probably yes, but sometimes EB1A also, depending on how far they are in their research and how great their field is. So it all depends on their profile. So we like
They
it's
should
not like
contact
you
your
have a
office.
PhD, you get a visa. No, we don't have anything like that. You have to qualify either for EB1 or EB2 national interest waiver. These are the two options for them. Or if they get employed by a university or something, they can do EB1B, that's outstanding researchers. But that you need the employer, the university or your employer should file for you if you have a PhD and you're working for a university.
This person has asked their question at least 25 times. And I've saved it the moment they asked it the first time that I will come to it. So if you're watching, don't be upset. I've been seeing you asking the question over and over. As an artisan here in Nigeria, please, what's the possible route to enter the US? Now, before you answer this question, someone else also had similar question. What are the options available for trade person like plumbing and pipe fittings? So, if you don't mind answering both questions.
These are like artisan means like what
Like
exactly?
plumbing or pipe fittings is like the same thing. Artisan is non-skilled workers, unskilled workers.
Yeah, they may need a an employer to sponsor them for EB3. That will be the only option, and it's going to be a long option. Like it's not
Unless
going
they
to.
are business, if they own a business,
Yeah,
then
own a business. They can think about coming through the L1 route, starting a business here.
So please call their office. If you have your own business, you you can explore the route of expanding to the US with your business, but you need solid business plan and everything. She already explained that
Yeah,
earlier.
please don't do it for the visa. Just only if you are serious about your business, because it won't work beyond 1 year if you're just doing it for the papers. That won't work.
So don't do it just to get the visa. Don't think, oh, once I get there, I will sort myself out. You should
No.
actually have the. A lot of people do that and then they get stuck, and then before you know it, they're facing deportation. So don't do it just for the visa, but if you actually intend on establishing your company here as well, and you are going to do what you said you will do, you can contact their office. So real quick, I want you to talk about this because I also recently found out something about this. This person is asking, can siblings still file for another sibling? And while you answer this, I don't know why I thought if you file for your sibling, a lot of people actually believe that once you file for your sibling, they cannot process other visas. So I know some people that will say, oh no, because I want you to come quicker because sibling visa can take up to 10 years. I want you to apply for visiting visa and so on. So then they don't file for their sibling. But please talk about the fact that they can still apply for other visas even if they file for their siblings. So can siblings still file for another sibling?
Yes, siblings can still file for that. US citizens can file for their siblings. So green card holders cannot file for their siblings, but if you're a US citizen, you can file for your siblings. It does take a long time, and that's simply because it's a preference categories. Preference categories carry derivatives. And let me explain that. So if you file for your sibling, you're only filing for that sibling. But on that same application, your sibling, spouse, and children can immigrate to the United States. So they are considered derivatives of that one application that you filed for your siblings. So because they have to cater to a lot of people, that is why there's a backlog and everybody has to wait for their turn. So siblings can still file for their siblings. When you're applying for a US visa, like a tourist visa or a non-immigrant visa, one of the things that you have, there's a presumption that you have immigrant intent. So anytime you appear before the consular officer, you're starting from that presumption that this person wants to immigrate to the United States. So you now have to convince the consular officer that your intention is not to immigrate to the United States, but just to visit the United States for a particular length of time and return back to your country. So if you're applying for an F1, which is a student visa as well, you're carrying that same, you have to prove that you don't have immigrant intent. So that said, if your sibling can show that they are only because the application is not current, it takes a long time. So it is easy for them to show that they don't have immigrant intent because there is no way they can immigrate on that particular visa at that time. So they can still for any other visa that they're eligible for. So think about it. It's like putting firewood into the fire. As many firewood as they're eligible for, they can put into the fire at once. So it's fine for them to apply for another visa.
Thank you so much for addressing that. So you can file for your sibling, and while you file for them, they can still be trying other visas. So this person, thank you so much, Davidson, for donating $10. I appreciate it. He says that he has EB2 approved, but his priority date is early 2025. That one confused me, but maybe you guys will understand because we passed early 2025. But the current filing date is October 2023. Is there any option for me to expedite my green card process?
No. You'll have to wait for your priority date to be current. So every month, the Department of State issues the visa bulletin. So what we have seen for EB2 is it's inching forward slowly. We are hoping this month, I mean, July, it'll be November 2023. So probably by October of this year, it may change a little bit more, but we have no idea.
Yeah. So
So EB2 can take this long?
Yeah, right now it's
it's
retrogress.
retrogressed. It used to be current for a
Yeah,
while.
it used to be
Then
current.
everyone started filing those applications, and
Because yeah,
I
now
think
it's retrogressed.
sorry to cut in. If you think of the priority date is like your tally number. You know, if you go on a queue, they'll give you tally number. So that's what your priority date
Okay.
is your time. And like, so when they get to people who applied prior to that date or on that by that date, then they will give you a visa, because they have to regulate the amount of people that is brought into the United States. So that's the reason the Department of State issues a certain number of visas for each category. Because imagine if they just open the door, the infrastructure will not be able to handle the amount of people. So they have to bring people in gradually. So when you file an application, an immigrant visa application, they will give you your own turn, that okay, your priority date, that okay, when we start processing people within this priority, that means we have a visa ready for you. So everybody has to wait in line for their turn. So you requesting to expedite it, what happens to all those people that filed in 2023? So it's like taking you that you just filed in 2025 and putting you above them. That is unfair. So they wouldn't do that.
So people need to be aware of the processing time before they work on
But I'm
any visa.
confused in this priority date, right? If he got his AB2 approved in his priority date is the date he filed the petition. So not when he got approved. So like did he got I don't know, like if he filed it, did he do premium processing? Because how did he get it approved so soon? That's my
Yeah,
question.
but at least it's approved. We know
I
he
don't know.
said
I'm
it's
just so I'm
valid.
just wondering whether he has confused his priority date with his approval date. That's
No,
my
I
question.
think he knows, because he says, but the current filing date is October 2023. So
Yeah.
he
Mhm.
knows the priority date, he knows how they are processing those applications. This person seems to be very aware.
Yeah.
But he wants to know how to expedite. That expedite,
Can
That's
they move? Can they go to neighboring country like Ghana to?
it doesn't have to do with neighboring countries. It's just how it is. Like he's even lucky. Like
he's already
somebody from
approved.
India
Yeah.
now, their own priority date is like
2013, 2012. So 10 years.
exactly.
One
So
in 12.
yeah, because they utilize the visas a lot. So in the
We were
past,
just waking up.
It's only seven.
exactly,
Yeah.
and the rate at which Nigerians are going, because a lot of us are qualified for this visa. Very soon they're going to give us our own category like
Yeah,
India and
exactly.
Mexico. That's what I'm envisaging because that's what happened to the lottery. Like because Nigerians were oversubscribed in the lottery, they had to take us out of the visa lottery.
Yeah, the diversity visa, right?
Yes, because we are
The US green card lottery.
yeah, the green card lottery.
Okay, so the reason I'm reading these comments is because so they're asking if you have an office in the UK, but I'm reading it because I also want to say for a lot of people, they may be thinking they have to come to your office physically for consultation. But do you do consultation on phone? Do you do Zoom consultation, things like that?
We do Zoom always because most of our clients are like from outside. So we have international clients. It's always Zoom or telephone conversation.
So do you have a branch in the UK?
No, we can start one.
So they don't presently have a branch in the UK, but you can do phone consultation or Zoom
I think the
consultation.
question is related to maybe they want UK immigration advice. Maybe is that the reason they're asking that?
I guess they need.
Yeah, we don't know about UK immigration laws.
This person has been writing that they have experience as a caregiver, but that's all they wrote.
So in that case, like I have seen agencies do EB3 for people like caregivers. It takes a long time, but that's an option they can explore because
So
you
there are
know,
agents that can sponsor them.
yeah, there are nursing agencies that do that. But
Okay.
it's anyway, it's retrogress, but still, if we can start the process now, we can get in line. So you should consult.
A lot of students would like to know if you help with student visas. Although, like you said earlier, student visas are presently on hold, but do you help international students?
They need to get their admission first. We can help with their visa processing, but not with the admission.
So you have
Because
to get your own
yeah,
admission.
for F1 visa, the first like step is you get admitted, then the international office of the university issues an I-20 for you. You need that I-20 for your visa. So it needs to come from the school, and we don't secure admission for students. but we can help in processing the visa, but not for admission. You have to get admitted to a university or, you know,
When you help in processing student visa, is it guaranteed?
I'm sorry, what?
When you help process student visa, is it guaranteed?
Usually, when you go to the consulate, it is kind of difficult. Sometimes it's not, for that matter, no visa is guaranteed. So I have seen that change of status from B1, B2 to F1 is easier than going to a
Than
consulate.
going to the
Mhm.
consulate.
Because when you go to the consulate, right, you have to prove your non-immigrant intent. There's no immigrant intent. You don't plan to stay back. And then you have to show your source of funds. And sometimes they'll ask whether you have a house or your ties to your country. So sometimes, if it's a reputable university, I don't feel any issues. But sometimes they reject. I've seen it's
So,
easier to change status to F1 rather than going to a consulate.
so if someone has a visiting visa already, they can
Mhm.
come to the US with the visiting visa and then change their status to F1
If they
within.
get admission to a school.
Mhm.
Like,
If they get admission, if they have an admission, they can
mhm.
change their status right here in the
They can
US.
come here and then think about, applying to schools, and if they get admitted, they can change their status here.
That's good. I did not know about that. A lot of people will just primarily apply for F1 visa from their country, but they can actually apply for visiting visa and then apply to school here. If they get admitted, they can
See,
change their
that being
status.
said, visiting visa is meant for visiting. So your intent shouldn't be to change when you come in. So, but plans change. You come in for visiting, you go visit schools, and you decide to change, study, then you can change your status. So,
Okay.
but I wouldn't recommend coming with the intent of changing, because at the port of entry, they'll ask you, why did you come in? So it could be visiting or medical, you know, those are the reason, those
So,
are the options, or
but,
business. These are the three things you can use that visa for, not to come in and change status.
but while visiting, if they happen to see a school and they liked it, they apply, they get admitted. So they don't necessarily have to go to the embassy to get a
No.
student visa. They can just
Yeah,
okay.
but if they intend to travel, like once after changing to F1 visa, they start school. But if they want to go out of the country for any reason, and if they want to come back, then they need to go to the embassy for a visa stamp.
Okay. And it gets easier then because they've already established a student here.
Not
Not
necessarily.
necessarily. It's still subject to yeah,
It's discretionary, right?
it's
Yeah.
discretionary. And even now, I like how you brought it up because we may have some students who maybe they're planning to travel or maybe an emergency arises back home that they want to go. Remember, they're no longer issuing student visas. So I would rather just stay here until the coast clears before traveling. Because if you leave the
So
country,
if I'm a student and I already have student visa and I need to go home, maybe my mom is sick or something,
no, if you have a student visa,
and my visa
from
has
the embassy,
expired.
don't travel right now
Yeah.
because they're not issuing student visas.
Oh,
You know
Yeah.
that if you're here, like if you change your status from B1, B2, that's a tourist visa, to F1, which is a student visa, they're going to admit you on duration of status. So as long as you remain in school for, even if it's for decades, you're still a student, you're fine. You can remain in the United States. But the minute you step out of the US to re-enter the country, you need a visa. You understand? So then you have to, if the visa has expired, let's say the person has traveled before, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, and they got a visa, the visa has expired now. The visa is not the status. The visa just allow them entry into the United States. You understand?
yeah.
So, but the
Wow.
visa,
Because
I don't know how to put it. Like it does,
no,
it's a,
I
you
get it.
understand what I'm
I
saying?
had to renew my student visa at some point when I went home to Nigeria. So my visa expired by the time I finished my undergrad, and then I had to go home. I adjusted my status here, and then when I went home, I had to renew my visa. But now that you talked about how they are not issuing new visas, I didn't know that it also applies to those who are already established, those who already have student visa that just need to renew it. They are also not renewing, not just
It's
that they are
not
not
the,
giving the
it's not
time.
new. It's always been there. It you could have been rejected when you went for your visa.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know, but
So
the fact that
talking
now
about
they're
right
not
now.
giving
So right
visa.
now, no, right now there's a whole worldwide ban on issuing
Yeah.
a
They
visa.
didn't exempt people with existing visas. I don't, there wasn't an exemption.
They're not issuing new ones, and I think it's temporary. They're going to lift it soon.
They said they want to use that to review people's profiles. So they'll look at their profiles, their online activity.
Ayodeji Komolafe knows that he qualifies for EB2 and IW, but he doesn't want to handle the petition himself. He contributed significantly to his field in the UK, and he already has a B1 B2 visa. He would like your help to file the EB2, I think.
Mm,
He can start by forwarding his resume our to our
email.
yeah,
Mhm.
pursue that.
So email them or call them, book a session with them, send your resume to them, and then you go from there. The good thing is he has a visiting visa at hand, and if you're visiting, if especially if you're visiting Houston, you can literally meet with them physically at their law office. So okay, this person says that he has a PhD in mathematics, a lecturer in a Nigerian university. Is there any route that they can use to move to the US?
EB2 national interest waiver, and maybe EB1A depending on his profile. So
But the processing time for EB2,
yeah, that's what I said. Like if they qualify for EB1A, then it's fine. It's current. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't file for national interest waiver because it's retrogressed. The earlier you get in line, the better for you, right?
But
Because once you get your application approved, that means you got that paper saying you're eligible for the green card. You'll get it eventually, anytime. Like, only thing you have to wait. So nobody stops you from filing. You can file and get approved and wait. That's the situation.
if they qualify for EB1, can they file both EB1 and EB2 concurrently?
Hmm. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody's stopping them. They can file anything they want.
Well, that's good to know. And this person is asking about the visa that a fresh graduate of optometry can apply for.
I believe they should come for F1 because if they otherwise they need to find an employer. The easiest way is to come to study and then get your work permit after you graduate, or even after a year you get curricular practical training. So maybe you can do something in optometry, you know.
I'm a current teacher of math in the UK. Do I have a chance?
Yeah, I think we mentioned about that earlier, right? Like you can get teacher certification and try for public school jobs.
Okay. And Vivian has BSc and MSc in statistics. Haven't worked in statistic field, but recently did work as a data entry specialist.
Since they have a MSc, you qualify for national interest waiver. But however, the recent policy changes say that you should have worked in your field, like your qualification, your credentials, educational credentials, and your field should match. That's a recent policy change for EB2 national interest waiver. So I don't know unless I review their CV. I have no idea.
Please send your CV to their email. One more time, I will put it up. But this next question is very dear to my heart because I've been in this person's shoes. Please, it's urgent. My OPT ends July 2025. I'm eligible for STEM OPT. I got approved on EB1A I-140. Do I discontinue the STEM OPT and continue with the I-485 and I-824?
Um, OPT ends in July 2025
Mm-hmm.
and STEM OPT got approved for EB1. So I'm assuming he got his 765 EAD, right? Work permit based on his 485. So he has
no,
the option to do both, but
Okay.
Since STEM OPT has restrictions like you need to be employed with a e-verify employer and all those things, it's there's no problem if he doesn't continue with the STEM OPT. If EB1A is approved, then there's no problem. He can go on to 485 EAD. So if he got his work permit, use the 485 EAD. Otherwise, continue with STEM OPT. But since it's approved, there's no issue unless you have any, inadmissibility issues.
For the I-485.
Mhm. Right now, you have to think about only whether you have any inadmissibility issues for your 485. And so I think you should, if you have your EAD from your 485 and you have your approved I-140, or is it pending? It says approved, right? So he can use his 485 EAD.
Okay, please contact them. I'm trying to make sure that we actually don't hit 2 hours this time around. We're almost at 2 hours period. Um, Real quick, Lawal is asking what kind of visa application is suitable for someone who studied business administration and now works in poultry farm.
Hmm. I mean,
You
I,
guys were like,
I'm just thinking, if you have an employer, you can get sponsored for through H1B. But
an
then,
employer in Nigeria or in
no, US, right? Other than that, but even though this question is like this, right? If we see their profile, we may be able to, decide what they qualify for. Sometimes people just downplay their credentials. So,
But any of those, like as long as they have an employer, they can pursue maybe like the
email them.
even
sorry,
EB2 that is not national interest waiver, right? Or EB dependent.
no, EB3 is also possible, right?
EB3.
Yeah, an employer can sponsor for their visa. That's not a problem. But EB3 is going to take a long time. It's 2 to 3
Email
years.
them with details. Email them with details. This person has PhD admission with GTA offer fully funded. I'm booked for visa interview in July. How will the recent presidential order stop the issuing of new visa affect me?
I think if he's scheduled, it's fine. That's what I read in the news last time.
Those who already have appointment are not
Yeah, that's
affected.
what I understand, but I'm not sure. Like they will get an intimation from the embassy if it's cancelled. So if it's booked, it should be okay, I believe. I don't know. You have to wait and see what they
One
let.
has to, yeah, we have to review the because it just came out. So
Mhm.
let's see how
But I
things.
think they said existing ones are okay, but I don't know.
You mean existing interviews?
Yeah, existing interviews. So that's what I vaguely remember reading something like that, but I'm not sure. What I understand is they canceled everything for the time being.
This person has visited visa that expires in 2029, and they also have an admission at one of the US universities, and they are no longer issuing student visas.
Yeah, but if they are currently here, they can think about a change of status.
I don't know if they are here, but they have a visiting visa. So if they do come with a visiting visa, then they can change their
Yeah, they
status.
can change their status if they do come in. They visiting.
But once they
But it
change their
wasn't
status,
their intent on entry though. So
they can't leave the country until your country starts issuing student visas again.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. I'm rounding up. This person says that he's an auto mechanic. What options are there to get visas?
Only having an employer to sponsor you. I mean, automatic mechanic, and for H1B, you need a bachelor's degree. So if you have a bachelor's degree, then fine. Otherwise, at this time, I don't think of any other options other than coming to study and then, going to a different field. So,
or the EB3.
yeah, or EB3, but all requires an employer to sponsor for them. There should be a job waiting for them.
Okay. Um, Okay, so let me just take a few more questions and that's it. First of all, people are still thanking you for the job that you're doing. They're praying for you that God will bless you real good. I
Thank
just want
you.
to put it out there that Kofi Azuma thinks that your smile is beautiful. And I
Thank
just
you.
think I should read that. Um, Also, I thought this was funny, but let's talk about it. If you come to America with visiting visa, how long will it take before you become a citizen? They're jumping from visiting visa to
That's
citizen. Oh
It's
shit.
relative. It depends on your pathway.
Yeah.
So it
Mm.
depends on some people it takes a long time because they start out on non-immigrant visas, then they find an employer. So it depends on your pathway. That will determine how long it will take.
So, but I
The
also think it's
quickest is
important for
marriage.
people to know that
And you
getting.
should understand that even if you get your green card, right, you have to wait for 5 years until you apply for citizenship, unless you're married to a US citizen. That's 3 years, right, Buzaya?
Yeah, 3 years. Or if you're in the army, that's 1 year.
Mm-hmm. So we'd like to mention about the EB5 visa also. Those who are like, those who are rich enough to park 800,000 to 1 million for a couple of years, then that seems to be a quicker way of getting green cards right now. Because we are seeing approvals in 6 months to 6 to 9 months when
What
you
way? What
uh,
route is that?
that's the EB5, that's an investment visa. So you have to
Oh,
invest 800,000 in a US business, and then you get your money back in 5 to 6 years probably, and your green card. So that's one option.
so I just think I should put this out there that I think a lot of people assume that once you have a visiting visa, then you can get your citizenship in America. So it doesn't work like that. A visiting visa only allows you to visit. If you are now intending on staying in the US, you should sit down with an immigration lawyer to know what your options are, the different routes that you can take. You don't just go from visiting visa to a citizen. So you need to know how to get a residency first, which is green card. And then after 5 years of having the green card, or 3 years, if you marry an American citizen, that is when you can now apply for citizenship. So you don't just go from citizenship to green card. Now, this person is asking if someone has a special talent in music and they're out of status in the US. So they're already here, but they have special talent in music. Based on special talent, can this person get a green card?
Nothing is stopping you from applying for EB1A if you think you have like, if you are in the top of your field in music, you will get it approved. But whether you will get your green card, that needs to be checked based on like how long you have been out of status, what's your current status. So there are like options if you're out of status for less than 180 days, but if it's beyond that, it's very difficult.
Okay.
Hmm.
So the bottom line is people should contact immigration lawyers before.
Yeah, we are advised this that those who come here, what we have seen is like all nationalities, it's not Nigeria alone. They just come in and they just let their status expire. And you can always file an extension for your B1, B2 and be in status, right? So just just do that. You don't need a lawyer for that. You can do it online if you want to extend your status. So don't let your status run out and start accruing unlawful presence.
Don't wait till you're out of status before you know your options.
Mhm.
That's the bottom line. Uh,
Just to verify what you said earlier on student visas, you're correct. They're not taking on new interviews.
For what?
Yeah, for the student visas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Even
new
existing ones
interviews
can
and
be canceled.
yes, they said
Oh,
they shouldn't add more to the capacity that they
mm.
currently have. That's what the cable says.
Hmm.
So the one that is
so
already scheduled, they'll still process it under existing guidelines.
those who already have appointments, right?
Yes, those that have already have
So this
appointments. 'Cause I was
person is
trying
here.
to verify the information. Huh?
Oh, thank you so much. So this person is here on H1B visa. They want to know if they can apply for green card by themselves.
Yes, if they qualify for EB1A or EB2 national interest waiver, and there's no connection between H1B visa status and green card. You can be outside the country and file for green card. You can be here and file for H1B. There's no requirement that you have to work on H-1B to get a, green card. So if they are on H-1B, their employer can also sponsor them. And if they can do it on their own, if they qualify for EB-1A or EB-2 national interest waiver, they can file. There's no restrictions.
The person just wants to make sure that you said 800,000 for investment. Or did you say $800 or
No,
$800?
800,000.
Okay.
It
They're
could go
just
up to
making
one
sure.
million 50,000 depending on the kind of investment you want. You want your own
And,
business, yeah,
and
or
the
if
president also came up with his own.
5 million. Yeah, so we are
How
just
much is that?
not sure that he's going to cancel this, but
Is
right
it the
now,
5 million, the gold card or
gold
something?
card, yeah,
If you have 5 million too, you can.
you,
I
you
don't think
can.
there are policies in place yet for or procedures. Have they issued any procedures?
I
Is it
don't know.
already?
They were telling 2 weeks. Let's see. We don't know anything about it.
It will only take 2 weeks to process such a person.
I know that they said
No,
he.
that the regulations, right now he said it, but we don't have regulations. We don't know how that will be implemented.
Yeah, we don't know how it's going to work. Like what kind, because there's nothing that no provision for that in the current laws. So we don't know.
I'm currently on H1B, so I think this person asked their question earlier, and then they got the EB2 approved. I'm currently working in my field as AI engineer. Can I go for EB1 without PhD?
Yes, you don't need a PhD for EB1. You just need to qualify for the criteria. And I believe he would qualify if he's an AI engineer.
What about the EB2 that they've gotten approved?
That's okay. It's not current. Doesn't matter. He can file for that. I mean, he can wait with that, or he can go for EB-1A, get it approved, and get his green card immediately. Not immediately, because that also takes time, but
Takes a
not, yeah, he can file his 485 and get out of his H-1B and start using that EAD.
This person has asked their question several times. They just finished school with honors degree in international studies and relations. What visa option can I have to further
They
and get a job in the US?
they just finished school, they should have OPT, right? So they should try to find a job in their field. There's no, they need to find a job. And I think even on OPT, you can
Is
even
this
start.
person here?
Oh,
I do not know. I do not know.
oh, I'm sorry. I just assumed they studied here. Probably not. Yeah. So the best option would be to file for, if you're not here, maybe F1 and start studying and go through that route. Or
Yeah, I'll
find,
find an employer.
yeah, find an employer.
Even like you mentioned Indeed the other time. So it's not impossible, honestly, like to find an employer from outside. It's not impossible.
Where do people go? Where should people go to find employer?
No, I thought you mentioned Indeed.com the
Yeah,
other
I
time.
mentioned Indeed.
Even
That is
LinkedIn,
what I know.
their
LinkedIn,
job
yes, LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Then for
Okay,
many, because I think I saw something about nurse. They have some agencies that actually they would hire you. They would then you can now work for maybe like hospitals, but you're working primarily for the agency. So there are
there
agencies too.
there were so many caregivers, and I even saw somebody that said she's an RN and so on. So there are agencies that you can contact for all of that. So real quick, I just want to recap that we talked about the H1B visa, we talked about the L1 visa, we talked about the EB1, EB2, did we talk about the O visa?
Yeah, O visa is also a non-immigrant visa. It's not green card; it's temporary work visa. It's similar to EB for sorry, EB-1. You need to be exceptional in your field in business, arts, education, or science. So, but the thing with recently they have allowed people to start their own company, and then you can sponsor yourself through your own company for O&A. So that's there, but you have to be you have to qualify for it. You need to have satisfy those criteria, similar to EB-1A. I
Awesome.
think it's six or three out, 2 out of 6, I believe. I'm not sure right now. Yeah, but it's similar, but it's a non-immigrant visa.
Okay. And we also talked about religious visa, religious workers. and all the EB1, EB2, and so on and so forth. So I think we covered everything except for the TN because you said that one is for Mexicans and
And
Canadians.
Canada, yeah, it's only for Mexican and Canadian nationals, not for anyone else.
And you have to be a citizen of Canada
Yeah, or Mexico
or
to
Mexico to
qualify for
apply
it.
for
Mhm.
that visa. It's basically for professionals in designated occupations in those
Yeah,
countries.
it's for professions.
So I want to thank you, and I want to put up this from Omotola Bright, who is thanking you guys for what you are doing. This person lives in South Africa legally, has been there for over 5 years, has a client who is a tutor in the US. Can the person sponsor me from South Africa? I have BSc.
If the person has, yeah, if they have a job opportunity, yes, they should file for his H1B, but not this year anyway. Wait for next year's lottery to open. And if they have business, they can use that business to sponsor him. I mean, sponsor him for the lottery. And if he gets picked, yes. When I say business, even a sole proprietorship works. If you're like, if you're a sole proprietor and doing business as a different name, that also works. So if this person has a genuine need for him and a position for him, yes, they can try that. And he
Okay.
has a bachelor's degree, so it should work. But not this year. We have to wait until March of next year.
And this is the last one I'm reading. This person has a sibling visa filed for them. Can they still apply for an F1 visa? We talked about this already, but is it a
Yes,
yes? Is it a no?
yes, you can still apply for an
Okay.
F1 visa.
It's a yes, but you should probably wait till student visas are back. Um, to they start issuing student visas again. So once again, guys, this is their office phone line. Keep in mind the office number will only work during office hours. Don't call them over the weekend. There will be nobody to pick it up. Call them between Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 Texas time. Make sure that you check the time in Texas before you call them. And you can always email them. I played earlier their office for those who may be wondering, just to give you assurance. And I'm going to end by playing it one more time and then I will thank our guests.
Hello,
Hello.
welcome in. Thank you for coming to the law office of Oluwaseun CDPC and FS Law. This is our lobby here where you
Awesome.
come in reception and stay for a while.
Okay.
Here's where I would be checking you in.
Okay.
You would meet with our attorneys in one of our conference rooms in the back.
Awesome.
The service is great here. Both of our attorneys are well experienced, so feel free to come by for all your immigration needs, both family and employment. We take care of everything.
And where are you located? What's the address of this place?
We are at 6911 Highway 6 South, Houston, Texas 77083.
How easy is it to get here? How accessible are you guys?
We're very accessible. We're actually on the main Highway 6 with the crossroad of Bel Air. We're on the second floor of the plaza. Once you come into the plaza, you'll see our law firm with the big sign at the top that says law firm.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming
All
by.
right, bye. So there you have it. You do know that they are legit. You do know where their office is located. If you have anybody in Houston that can help you to check them out, please do that if you need anybody to check them out for you. And on this note, they wanted me to post one more number. Can you
Yeah,
please
one
post
number.
me that
One
number?
thing. Uzai,
So
do you
there's
know the
two
by heart?
numbers for you to call. Don't give your personal number.
Your,
Or don't give your cell phone number.
your personal. I don't know it by heart. Like 281, please. Text it to Adiola.
Do not give your cell phone number. Your office number. I don't want anybody calling you in the middle of the night.
No, they're both office numbers.
Okay, awesome. Let me post this new. Awesome. So now you have two numbers. Let me see.
And what's the email? Like, it's easy.
Second number
The number is fine. It's good.
Sure.
is okay. So I just posted their second number. Please take a screenshot. I'm just giving you guys a minute to take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of this number. Hopefully, you've taken a screenshot of their email address as well, whether or not um, you wrote it down, but at least you've taken a screenshot. So please do, please do. Okay. Somebody said Houston is known as Little Nigeria. Yes. So you can always find somebody there. So I really, really want to thank my guests today. I don't know how to thank you, honestly. Thank you so, so much for making the time, for giving us free
Welcome.
consultation, a
Thank you
two
for
hour
having.
consultation.
Thank you
Oh,
for
There they
having us.
I met them live and direct. So I'm the one in the middle, by the way, in case you're wondering. Hey. So I met them live and direct. They are real. So I really want to thank both of you. Thank you. Thank you so, so much for making the time and for coming on the show, for answering people's questions without even collecting money from them. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. If anybody has any more questions for them, you have their email address and you have their office phone number. Please contact them directly. One more time, please do not wait until you're out of status before you seek help. At least know your options. And if you need to keep renewing whatever visa you have until you get your residency, please do that. Do not wait for your visa to be out of status. Any last word from my guest before I let you go?
No, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
thank you.
This time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You guys are welcome. All right, y'all. It's been real, and I'm keeping it up in here. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Until next time, I'm gonna see you all later. Peace out. Peace out, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.